let's talk about the dark side of dieting. If you want to get lean, you're gonna have to suffer. Now, granted, I don't mean suffer in some horrible way. I don't mean war crime, concentration camp, worst day of your life suffer, but there will be some extent of suffering. This shouldn't be something that surprises you. It shouldn't be something that is unexpected. But I think sometimes in the online space that is the fitness industry, well, we know for a fact a lot of it is full of, and censor this because it's in the first 30 seconds of the video, and I think that might reduce engagement. It's full of and there are so many coaches out there that will say you can carry on eating whatever you want. You can carry on drinking regularly, you can have takeaway, if it fits your macros. Bear in mind, right, I'm not denying the simple fact that if it fits your macros with the right calories and the right macro split will deliver results in practice and in just a general common sense. They're probably not going to be as good, they might not be as quick, you're going to struggle more along the way, but it is possible to eat whatever you want in an if it fits your macros format and get a result. But how likely is that? Well, let me tell you how likely that is. Welcome back to Road to the First Show, which I might still yet rebrand as Road to the Stage, because Road to the First Show is a bit of a mouthful. I might rebrand. And if you didn't know, this is going to be a YouTube series that's going to go over the course of a very long time, because I'm not ready to step on stage and be tighty whities just yet. But one day I will be, and I want to document that process. So we are currently in a dieting phase, hence the topic of said video. Oh my God, Jesus. And we are about halfway through said dieting phase. And the first half of the diet has gone pretty well. It's been pretty easy. I've still drank every single week pretty much. I've still had off plans pretty much every single week. And the results aren't too shabby. Gone from here over to here. Jobs are good, and for most people, this level of dieting or this level of fat loss will probably be enough for them to feel better. But that is starting now to change a little bit as we get deeper into the diet. Because ultimately, to get to the levels of leanness that I need to see on stage, I need to push the boundary a little bit. I also need to reduce my body fat as much as I can to give myself a long run up, that when I get into the next bulking phase, I've got a long time to actually build new tissue, because that's going to take a long time. Muscle building is the slowest adaptation that the body can ultimately make. And this is where we're about to experience some of that so-called suffering that I was talking about in the beginning of the video. What is that going to look like? Hunger. Not having the most energy. Not having the most motivation, cravings, not being able to enjoy socials or time in the week as much as I previously could have done, having to stay on plan with food, having to put up with people asking, why are you eating that? And then saying and following that up with, oh, I couldn't do that. Oh, you're so dedicated. And then you're also going to have people feel the need to explain to you as you go deeper into the diet all the reasons why they personally couldn't do it, which are probably the same reasons that you have, that it makes it difficult for you to do it. I don't know why people do that. People have a tendency to, if they see someone in shape or if they know that you're a coach or a trainer, I feel the need every single time to explain themselves as to why they're not going gym or not dieting. Anyway, you don't need to do that, for the record. You don't have to be in shape. I'm not going to judge you any less for being so, you know. We're having to change things a little bit as we get into the second half of the diet. So let's talk diet setup then, because diet is ultimately food, the most important thing when it comes to fat loss. It is the driver. It is the most important variable. I will all the time establish this with a client straight out the gate. It doesn't matter how many steps you do. It doesn't matter what your activity is. It doesn't matter how much cardio you do. For the average person, you cannot out-train or out-cardio, out-steps a bad diet, right? So it all starts there. And again, something that I do with every single client is straight up the gate, set the expectation, right? That's what I want you to understand from this video, is there needs to be an expectation that it is going to get difficult, especially if you want to actually get lean, right? Not just the conditions where you're not overweight, in a healthy weight range, or at least close to. Your muscle mass can take you out of what is a healthy weight range with a BMI, but that's not entirely accurate or entirely useful for people like that, for people like yourself and I. But We have to set the expectation that in the beginning stages, the diet will be easy. As I said, I was still eating out most days. We still have to set the expectation. As I said, I was still eating out every single week, sometimes once, sometimes twice. I was still drinking every week, multiple days of the week, and yet I still lost weight. Some of you might not even have that luxury. I'm lucky that I have what seems to be quite an active metabolism. I'm a very active person. I train a lot. I get a lot of steps through the week. Some of you might straight out of the gate not even have that luxury, but some of you might. And this was my mistake. I, as a coach, got a little overconfident in my ability to lose body fat. And I'm going to explain the rest while I make some cream of rice. Cream of rice is, well, what is cream of rice? It's like ground up rice. I'm talking about being healthy, and then I'm about to eat something which, anyway, cherry bagel cream of rice, pretty cool. Very nice, pretty cool. But I did, and can honestly say, got overconfident in my ability to lose body fat, which is why for the last few weeks, or at least up until I had a new coach on board, which is hopefully going to help me achieve my best condition yet, I got overconfident and I thought, I can lose body fat easy, I can get shredded easy. Definitely not the case. Again, I haven't put any body fat back on. I'm still leaner than I was. I'm looking in much better condition than I did. But one thing that I haven't been in the last few weeks that I'm going to start doing from now is walking the walk, right? Coaches talk about all this. Coaches talk about this all of the time. Is they walk the walk. I walk the walk, bro. But do you though? Because maybe you're one of these people that it is easier for you. I just said myself. Not everyone has the luxury of that much flexibility when they're dieting. Some people have to be pretty shit hot all of the way through. And so that's what I'm going to do here. Is I'm going to go a certain period of time with no alcohol. I'm going to go a certain period of time with no eating out food. I might still have off-plan food maybe once a week with the missus, but I will cook that food. It will be carefully selected. It won't be exciting in any stretch of any imagination. It will serve a purpose. Because the amount of calories you have a day needs to reduce. The amount of activity you're doing may need to go up. You may need to go to lower calories than what most people deem to be sensible. Peasant calories, as I like to call them. And as we said in the beginning, you are going to feel hungry, or at least most of the time, until you're really lean. People say they feel hungry. You're not necessarily feeling hungry. What you are experiencing is cravings, and there is a difference between those two. Now, it is an extreme example, and I do say it with a pinch of salt when I do use this analogy with a client, because I do understand that for most people, this should be fun, right? This process should be fun, unless you are a client that is really trying to get shreddy lean, what I'm going to try and do over the next 8 to 12 weeks, then it should be a bit of fun. We shouldn't be suffering too much. However, for those clients that are looking to take it into the next gear, what I will explain to them is there is a difference between actually physiologically hungry, starving, and more psychologically craving, missing food. There is a difference in that. Let me explain it. You're not starving. If you're watching this video, I can almost guarantee there is no chance of you starving in the modern world. You live in the first world. Yes, economy is one thing right now, but food isn't particularly hard to come by. You're not going to starve, right? Most of us have not even come anywhere near close to starving in our lives. There are people in the world who have food, really. I can say with a 99.99% certainty, you have never come close to starving in your life. What you do feel is hunger. Hunger is a normal hormonal emotion. It's normal. We shouldn't fear feeling hungry. And in fact, there are some studies that go to show that feeling of hunger when our body releases that ghrelin hormone. There are studies to show that that is actually good for us. It is longevity promoting. So to feel hungry every now and again is a good thing, but we're so quick to try and avoid it. But anyway, hunger is not bad. Simple thought experiment. Next time you feel hungry and you think, I'm starving, right? And bear in mind, you should never say, I'm starving. You should never use, as much as you can help it, negative language. Marcus Aurelius once said, don't be overheard complaining, even if the person that hears you complaining is yourself, because you will begin to identify with that hunger. You will think, this is definitely what I'm feeling. This is what I am. And you will feel more hungry. Anyway, we will aside more to the point. Next time you find yourself feeling like that, ask yourself, if I were to place a scoop of dry protein powder in front of you, are you going to eat that? Probably, again, with a 99.99% certainty, you are not going to do that. Why? Because it's disgusting. However, a person that was truly starving would not even think twice about taking the energy and the caloric value from a dry scoop of protein powder to satiate themselves. My point being, you're not starving. And that is cream of rice done. Definitely not the most appealing looking thing ever. It is actually Quite nice though, honestly, it is pretty decent. It doesn't look good, presentation, -5. Taste, 7.5 out of 10. It's not fucking dessert, but it's as close as we're gonna get. And does anyone get this reference? How the fuck did he do that?
See what that tastes like.
To walk down to the gym to get our steps for the day. Obviously, you know, most of us know by now, the more steps you get, the easier it is to write down. Why is that? It's a simple maths equation, you know, calories in, calories out, right? Ultimately, the biggest variable or the biggest contributor to the amount of calories burnt in a day is going to be just surviving, right? Most people kind of instinctively know this, right? You've got your heartbeat, bodily processes, that costs energy to do. You actually burn the most calories just by sitting on your arse, right? Second though is activity, unless you're doing a ridiculous amount of cardio or training, which most people aren't. That's our NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or steps, right? It's just anything, any movement that you do that isn't considered an exercise, right? The more you can bump those numbers up, the more you actually get to eat while remaining in a deficit. It's going to make it longer over the long term. Longer over the long term, it's going to make it easier over the long term. You're going to need to cut back calories less, you know, it's more sustainable, right? So it is important that you try and get as many steps really as is feasible, right? You don't want to be making life more difficult by spending all your time walking. Point being, the easiest way of doing that is to take any opportunity you can to walk or get extra activity in, right? Do some household chores that you've been procrastinating on, right? You can actually kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Walk down to the gym if it's within walking distance, walk to work, cycle to work, right? Something low intensity, nice and easy is more than doable. It's not going to affect your training performance whatsoever. When in a dieting phase, it becomes more important than ever to keep one of these, which is a logbook. And it's so important that you keep one of these because what this does is measures and tracks your progress in the gym. Now, obviously, everybody knows in a bulk or in a growth phase, we want to be growing, building tissue, right? But guess what? In a dieting phase, you still try to do this for as long as you can, or at least, as we were talking about, getting into the second half, the harder phase of the diet. What we need to do is focus on maintaining our strength for as long as possible, okay? Obviously, it's no secret that your strength, we're not chasing strength in the gym, right? We are over time, over a long enough period, because we want a progressive overload, get stronger, but strength is not the goal. However, when we are in a dieting phase, we want to try and maintain that strength. Why? Because the maintenance of strength pretty much necessitates your body holding on to muscle, right? Within reason until the very end, or especially if you're not even trying to get super shredded or super lean, you best believe you should be trying to maintain whatever lifts you're doing in your logbook, because if you dial the intensity down, if you stop trying hard, if your gym lifts come down, you are increasing the likelihood that you're going to lose muscle tissue. That is a fucking fact. And now, is it easy to maintain strength through the diet? Absolutely fucking not. You haven't got as much energy as you had. You are lighter. It takes weight to move weight. So, best believe you're probably going to be trying harder, struggling even more, having to take yourself to certain mental spaces when you train to, you know, maintain that strength, because when you're in a bulk, you've got excess calories, you've got plenty of carbs, you feel good, you feel heavy. Psychologically, you just feel big and strong. We don't get any of that in a diet. None of that. Everyone's favorite exercise that doesn't go up at all. It does over time, but people sometimes wonder, why do small movements like bicep curl and lateral raise take longer to grow. Like you think, well, how easy is it to add 5 kilograms to a bench press, to a squat, to a deadlift? Very easy. How difficult is it to add 5 kg to a lateral raise or a bicep curl? Very fucking difficult. Why is this? Quite simply, the percentage increase on, let's say for example, a 5 kilogram lateral raise is double. Add 5 kg to 5 kg, that is double. If you add 5 kilograms to an already 100 kilogram deadlift, it's a 5% increase. Not a lot. There's a reason I chose bodybuilding and not MMA. You saw, that's exactly why. Need I say any more? Granted, I did do it for a little bit. Evidently, not long enough. But it's in there somewhere. I was more of a grappler than a striker, to be honest. Love BJ. I think it's because I get to cuddle sweaty men in a way that I can't get judged for it. No one's gonna call me gay, you know? It lets me be me. What makes all of that better is the current song that is playing. That's amusing. Ain't nothing but a higher stay. Tell me why, but wanna hear you say. Also the reason I'm not a singer or a dancer. And that goal of strength training does go as much for your accessory lifts, like your isolations, like your curls, your lateral raises, but it also goes for the big lifts as well. You want to try and maintain both of those things. And that is how you fucking fight for maintaining strength. And that is session done. What I want to do, quick little look at how the physique is looking. I am content with how things are progressing. A few more weeks, this is gonna go. Looking drier through here. More definition before. Things are gonna start getting interesting over the next few weeks. So, but take home message: if you wanna keep the muscle you've got, fucking train for it, or it's gonna go.